Hello, my name is Steve D'Agostino, and I want to talk briefly about innovation in higher education IT. What do we mean when we say innovation, and how do these innovations happen? Some of you may be wondering why there's a Reese's peanut butter cup on this first slide, but some of you may remember the commercial. It's an old one, so I don't blame you if you don't remember it. But the commercial essentially shows two men walking down the street towards each other. One is eating chocolate, one is eating peanut butter. They bump into each other. One says, "You got chocolate in my peanut butter." The other one says, "You got peanut butter on my chocolate." And a whole new thing was created. Often when we think about innovation, we think about a new thing, something that didn't exist before, something that's planned and deliberate. But often that's not how innovations work. Sometimes innovations are, in this case, accidental. Or they don't result in creating something entirely new. They're taking things that already exist and putting them together in different and novel combinations. So think about one unique IT innovation in your school, something that no other school, at least as far as you know, is doing. The provocation for this presentation is really this question. Do you think you're innovating? Perhaps you may want to think again. So holding your unique innovation in your mind, I want to go through some of the challenges to innovation. And these are budgetary constraints. Innovation often requires investments of money and time that colleges and universities may not necessarily have. The technological infrastructure. Organizations sometimes have outdated or incompatible infrastructures, and so that limits their ability to be novel. Let's try to come up with 3 other challenges to innovation. I have a whole bunch. Here are some. A lack of technical expertise. Staff and students may not know technology the way that they need to effectively use some innovative IT solutions. Then there's a very common and widespread resistance to change. We've always done it this way. It works for me. Why do I need to do it differently? How is this innovation going to be any better? And the more time I spend learning this innovation, the less time I spend doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Then there are other challenges, institutional bureaucracy. It's really difficult to do things innovative in a bureaucratic structure. There are rules and regulations. We're not allowed to do that. We have to check that we're in compliance. And sometimes those barriers and that expertise required to check can stifle innovation at the very beginning. And then security concerns, personal identifying information. There's also the cultural fit. This new technology doesn't really work with who we are, or it may not be used effectively in our particular context. In terms of the teaching and learning environment, there's no evidence-based practice that we can rely on for this new technology. There's no data or research that supports that this is going to have a positive and measurable impact on student learning. So now that we have a sort of a sense of the landscape of challenges, here are some benefits. Innovation in IT can enhance learning experiences in these and other ways: personalized learning, virtual classrooms, interactive learning. No more will students be sitting watching talking heads or stuck in Zooms. IT innovations can streamline administrative operations through automation and data management. We're all going to communicate much more effectively. Technology can facilitate groundbreaking research through the analysis of data, through improved collaboration tools, greater access to knowledge. Technology can help us adapt to changing educational landscapes. It allows for the expansion of online degree programs. It can create lifelong learning opportunities. As shown during the COVID-19 pandemic with the move to emergency remote teaching, we can still provide education during crises. But are these benefits real? Or is this just what we believe? Are they myths? Do these innovations, whatever innovation means, really deliver on the things we think they will deliver on? So I want to think about an underlying theory that talks about impediments to innovation in institutional and then organizational environments. This theory is called neo-institutional theory, and it has 3 pillars. So we're going to understand some basic vocabulary first. Institutional theory helps us understand how broader environmental factors influence organizational behavior and structure. But we want to understand that an organization in this context is not an institution. I am at Fordham University. Fordham University is an organization. Higher education is an institution. Fordham IT is an organization. Higher education IT is an institution. The pillar of neo-institutional theory looks at the rules, the laws, the regulations. This could be policies, accreditation standards, even the institution's internal policies, how an institution regulates itself. And so by conforming to these policies, my options are limited, which is really the point of a policy. Then there's the normative pillar. The social norms, values, expectations, and standards that shape an organization's behavior and practices. In academia, these norms can be formed by pedagogical philosophies, professional expectations, or traditions. Higher education organizations are nothing if not traditional. And then there's what's called the cultural cognitive pillar. And this has to do with shared beliefs, perceptions, common understandings that influence an organization's practices and approaches. In the context of higher education, this could be ingrained beliefs about what's education for, how do we use technology effectively, shared understandings about learning and teaching methods. So why does this matter? Why does this theory matter? These 3 pillars shape the practices, strategies, and responses of the institution. In our case, how our higher education organizations approach and implement IT innovation. A principal component of neo-institutional theory is what's called isomorphism. Isomorphism describes the process where organizations in similar environments become more alike over time. There are 4 kinds of chicken nugget. You can choose one. I like the boot. That's my favorite. It has a little handle. But essentially, they are all chicken nuggets. So this phenomenon helps explain why institutions within the same field often exhibit similar structures and behaviors. In various organizations are all similar within the field, within the institution of higher education IT. I want to think about this, my attempt at a visualization of how innovation might happen. Within the brackets you have the range of options that are perceived as legitimate. Anything outside that range is not legitimate. Everybody watches this new behavior. If the new behavior is accepted, it's considered innovative, and the bracket of perceived legitimacy grows to encompass that new behavior. If it doesn't work, it's perceived as illegitimate, and no one ever does that. You can see that perceived legitimacy has an impact on what can be done and what cannot be done. Isomorphism is a key component of neo-institutional theory. The 3 pillars I mentioned earlier serve as forces driving isomorphism. And remember, isomorphism essentially means becoming the same. There are 3 kinds of isomorphism, much like pipe. There's coercive isomorphism, normative isomorphism, and mimetic isomorphism. Isomorphism means you have to change in this way. You have to adhere. It could be the law or policies. Normative means what's usual for us. And mimetic means we're just going to copy what other people do. And I'll develop these a bit more later in this short video. So isomorphism can lead to the homogenization of practices and structures across higher education institutions. This can have a significant impact for IT innovation as it may drive conformity. So while we think we're innovating, we're actually conforming. So coercive isomorphism originates from both formal and informal pressures on an organization, from other organizations, or from societal expectations. In higher education, this could stem from government policies, accreditation requirements like middle states, funding bodies, which insist on certain IT standards or practices. We're all concerned about personal identifying information. You cannot acquire an IT solution that doesn't respect FERPA. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying that it can inhibit innovation. Mimetic isomorphism is incredibly powerful. So here it's when an organization copies or emulates the practices of other successful organizations, especially in times of uncertainty. In my context, we call them peer and aspirant institutions. For instance, a university may adopt a specific learning management system or online teaching method used by high-ranking universities in hopes of achieving similar success. Well, what are they doing? Oh my goodness, you hear about what they're doing in this school? And we can think of these, right? High flex became what everyone was talking about during the pandemic. Centers for teaching and learning are now very popular. Centers for innovation are everywhere. So if they're everywhere, are they really innovative? It's like the emergence of avocado toast. Like, where did avocado toast come from? So normative isomorphism, at least in the context of IT and higher education, could stem from accepted pedagogical practices, industry standards, guidelines from professional bodies, or best practices for IT use, right? So we just start doing like the same stuff, and ultimately we have standardized procedures and standardized nomenclature and standardized practices. And also we move from one organization within an institution to another, and we bring our norms with us. And those norms are really helpful. They help us fit in. So there are potential benefits of isomorphism: quality and consistency. My chicken nugget is always a chicken nugget. And there's less risk, and it's really efficient. But the drawbacks are the stifling of innovation and the misalignment with local needs. What worked at a peer and aspirant organization might not work in my local context. So what we really want to do is strike the balance between established standards, which are the results of isomorphism, with the need of innovation and customization for IT in my local setting. I want to look deeply, or at least more deeply, at this idea of myth and ceremony. IT structures are often treated like mythically and ceremonially, which implies that institutions adopt certain IT structures not necessarily because they are the most effective or efficient, but because they lend legitimacy and convey a perception of modernity and advancement. So the idea, the coupling of technology with legitimacy, modernity, and advancement, I am arguing, might be a myth. The myth of IT structures refers to the often unquestioned belief that adopting specific IT structures will inherently lead to improved educational outcomes, because that's the goal. We want the students to perform better. However, without careful alignment with the university's unique needs, these structures may not deliver on those benefits. There's also ceremonies, rollouts, training sessions, regular updates, which reinforce the structure's perceived importance, but may overshadow their actual functionality and effectiveness. With all this ceremony and ritualizing of innovation in IT, how do we balance myth, ceremony, and effectiveness? The way we always do, by stepping outside of ourselves and critically engaging with our actions. In conclusion, here are some things we can do. We can recognize the phenomenon. We can know that when we think we're innovating, maybe we're just conforming. We can adopt a more critical approach. How do we separate the myths and ceremonies from the actual potential impact of these technologies? So the future is not about following trends, but making informed, purposeful decisions about IT innovation. And to accept that we're not as innovative as we think we are. Because, to quote The Incredibles, or misquote them, if everything is an innovation, then nothing is an innovation. And this is problematic because it waters down the definition. And we don't have to seek for innovation because we already have it. We're already innovative. We're copying, we're obeying, we're acting according to the norms. And so I'm arguing that those are not innovative. Those are compliant. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me at d'agostino@fordham.edu.